Shedeur Sanders was not drafted in the first round last night in Green Bay. We talked on this show going back months. Would he be the number one pick? That's where we were at one point. Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders, who's going to go number one? Then the conversation became, well, is it going to be the Browns or is it going to be the Giants? Who's going to grab Shedeur either at 2 or at 3? And then as time went on, you started to hear other names mentioned. Maybe the New Orleans Saints would like to grab Shedeur Sanders at 9 if he were to fall that far. Would somebody trade up and try to grab him? And then we started hearing, well, it's possible that he could fall as far as 21, where the Pittsburgh Steelers, still waiting to hear back from Aaron Rodgers, are sitting with Mason Rudolph and needing a quarterback and sort of directionless at the quarterback position. Maybe Mike Tomlin and the Pittsburgh Steelers would find a little present fall into their laps late. Maybe that would even be a good fit for Shedeur. But as it turns out, the Steelers passed, and so did everybody else. And now with one round in the books in Green Bay, Shedeur Sanders is still without an NFL team. The young man attempting to handle it in stride as best he can. Let's listen to Shedeur.
I don't feel like this happened, for no reason. All this is, of course, fuel to the fire. And under no circumstance, we all know this shouldn't have happened. But we understand we're on the bigger and better things. Tomorrow's the day.
Shedeur doesn't think that it should have happened. Well, what else would he say? And he must have been surprised. I don't know what information the Sanders family may have been privy to in terms of internally what their expectations were. I don't know if they had considered this possibility or not. It does seem like it came out of left field a little bit. Dion presumably thinking that it's horse hockey or maybe even mule muffins. Not happy. Colonel Potter from the 4077th. Horse hockey, he says between puffs on his cigar. Look, it's going to be Sanders against the world now. You know that's how Dion and Shedeur are going to look at it. This is going to be some point that must be proven and the fuel to the fire. And look, if it helps the young man, then do that. As we all know, Michael Jordan famously played with a chip on his shoulder. He would go out of his way to find slights or anything that he could use to motivate himself because he was a competitive degenerate. So if Shedeur needs this in order to play it the best of his ability, maybe he can take it and channel it in a positive way. Right now, the real question is where is he going to go? We don't know where he's going to end up at this point. You think, well, how much further can he slip? He's got to pop in at some time, but it's clear, I would say, he's going to get drafted in round 2. And Sesame Street today is brought to you by Shedeur Sanders and the number 2. Because you're going to go in the second round. I love the dollar sign with the 2 on it, his logo. Now, that logo is going to be the butt. It already is of a lot of jokes saying, well, the 2 stands for you were a second round pick. You're the second Sanders, and you're the second rounder as well. But hey, Shedeur, don't feel too bad. As we've said before, Joe Montana was a 3rd round pick. Tom Brady was a 6th round pick. Brock Purdy was Mr. Irrelevant. It's not how you start in this league. It's how you finish. Although Shedeur tweeting yesterday, I'm built for whatever today may bring. And he was built even if the day didn't bring a goddamn thing, which it didn't. I love his room, though. I love I'm wondering if I should get a legendary room in my house. Maybe I could bring in Ronnie and Tim to help me decorate it. Look at this. This is the bad part. There's no shame in not getting taken in the first round. But when you come out like this, and then you don't get drafted, Well, it kind of invites a little bit of fun poking, doesn't it? Legendary. And there is that $squared logo. Was not a legendary day for Shedeur Sanders at all. Not even a bit. Tim, is it time for the word of the day? How are we going to do this?
Schadenfreude.
Here we go. There you go.
Schadenfreude.
That's
Schadenfreude.
Schadenfreude is how I say it, goddammit. I'm not German,
Schadenfreude.
but I can tell you what it means. It
All
is
right, you can pause it.
pleasure derived from someone else's misfortune. And I'd be lying to you if I said I didn't find this to be a little funny. I'm not getting off on it, but do I find it just a little bit fun? Maybe just a little bit funny when the kid with the ginormous ego doesn't get drafted in the first round and we just look at his stupid little room all night? Does that bring me a little bit of pleasure? I'm going to have to be honest with you and tell you that it does. Yeah. It brings me just a tiny little bit of pleasure. Clay Matthews brought some pleasure to Green Bay. Of course, one of Green Bay's favorite sons. Coming out and, look, you know where I'm from. I'm here in Chicago. Of course, I'm repping Bucko Bruce because I'm a lover of all things that are awesome. But I'm a Bears fan in a Bears town. But even I have to tip my cap to Clay Matthews.
I just got off the phone with the president, Donald Trump. He asked me to pass a message along to all 32 NFL franchises. So let me tell you what it reads here, all right? It says, my fellow Americans, the Bears still suck!
What kind of bullshit is this? The Bears still suck. Is that an executive order? Ensuring that the Bears suck? Can we get some activist judge to issue an injunction against the Bears sucking now? Would that be possible? There's got to be a district judge somewhere who can prevent the Bears from sucking this year.
Some Obama-appointed judge.
Possible? Yes. An Obama appointee who will declare that the Bears will now go 10-7 because of this, because Donald Trump's agenda will not stand in this country. Ron, Clay Matthews, a handsome guy, clean-shaven Clay Matthews out there at the game. It got me thinking about what my dad used to wear as aftershave back in the day. Some of you of a certain age are going to remember this catchphrase, this company slogan.
Bye, man.
Let's have a look at it. You know what it smelled like? Yeah, look at that. By Menon. Yeah.
By Menon.
And skin bracer. Look at that. And then there was the other kind that was just sort of a
was it blue?
Murky brown.
Oh, wasn't there a blue one?
There was a blue kind later. The kind that I remember my dad and my grandfather wearing were they were brown, I think. And my grandfather used to refer to it as good smelling stuff. He would say, I'm going to put on my good smelling stuff. By Menon. You know who probably smelled great? I got a pirate on my chest here today. I'm a big fan of teams whose mascots are pirates. But my pirate today, Bucko Bruce, he's a little more flamboyant, a little more interested in the arts, perhaps, than this rugged son of a bitch that sailed his way into Pittsburgh. Have a look at this larcenous bastard, won't you? The Pirates need to bring that ruggedly handsome son of a bitch back tomorrow, and we all know it. He looks a little bit like James Garner, maybe a cross between James Garner and Robert Mitchum, just with a little more syphilis. You don't even want to know the things that man did out at sea.
Scurvy and syphilis.
All kinds of things going down. Yeah, I mean, wasn't it a well-known fact at one time that like roughly 67% of pirates had syphilis?
I feel like you
Yay,
just made
heavy
that
and a
up.
bottle of bread. You know that son of a bitch enjoyed a bunch of songs singing with his
Pour some rum on
shady
it.
friends who were probably missing teeth and limbs. That's a logo right there. Why would you ever go away from that? You have that as a logo, and then you voluntarily go away from it. Some of these teams, I can't help them. This right here, look at this. Look at what the Buccaneers have been wearing for the last 30 years. And then look at this and realize that they made a voluntary decision to walk away from this magic. Make the world make sense again to me. Maybe I'll bring in a man who brings some sense to this program and perhaps he can restore order. I speak, of course, of the international streaming star who joins me from Nashville, Tennessee. He is, of course, Ronnie T-shirts. Ronnie, we've talked about Shedeur Sanders a lot on this program.
At least a couple
and
times.
It's been the conjecture about where will he be drafted? What do we think of his talent? What do we think of his attitude? Etc., etc. And it comes to a head last night. And the one thing that you and I and Shedeur have in common as we broadcast this show right now is that none of us have an NFL team.
Nope. Dude, I got to tell you, you said that this, you found a little bit of fun, a little bit of humor in this. I found a lot. I texted you. I texted my friends. Texted anybody that want to listen to me. Last night, I think it made my April. It was so funny. Like, it's just hard to root for somebody that's that full of themselves and hasn't really proven it yet. I mean, he gives his little speech there, and just how he says it. This isn't how it was supposed to be. And he's got this. I mean, it's probably that necklace is probably worth more than my house. And he's just easy not to like. I don't know if you know this, but Tyler and Lori are diehard Steelers fans. And so watching the draft with Lori.
I did not know that, Ron.
Oh yeah, Lori grew up. Lori grew up in Pittsburgh during the Super Bowl years. So she lived there during the Super Bowl years. So she's just a massive Steelers fan. And Tyler just kind of adopted it. Tyler's on speaker, and they both cheered like the Steelers had just thrown a game-winning touchdown pass when they didn't take Shedeur. My friend Mark, who's a massive Browns fan, just we're texting back and forth. We are laughing just like you and I were texting, and this is hilarious, and sending all the memes back and forth. And then I reminded him, I said, hey, dude, you guys have 2 of the first 3 picks tomorrow. I go, he's going to be a Brown. And Mark's a huge Browns fan. And he's just like, fuck you. So, yeah, it was a great night. I think
him. You can have him. Seems to be the attitude.
Absolutely. Oh, I don't see how he's not going to be picked by the Browns with one of those first 3 picks of the second round. You said something about, Joe Montana, Tom Brady, they all did. Guess what? Those guys were not projected first round picks, Ricky. Like, that's the difference. And that's why this is so funny, is because he was, as you started the show, at one point there was a debate over who's going to be the first pick of the draft. He needs to eat some humble pie. He needs to settle down.
It seems like he did it to himself.
Yes.
Now that we know that the words from that unnamed assistant coach presumably were 100% sincere.
Yep.
Because the Yacht Rock playlist consultant, our friend, sent me a text last night and said, well, I guess it wasn't a smokescreen.
Oh, right.
And it wasn't a smokescreen. Apparently it was the truth as that guy saw it. And apparently other teams in the league also saw something that they didn't like, because a guy that we thought could be a number 1 pick a relatively short while ago doesn't even go in the first round. 32 teams agree. Then I think
no senior ball.
You need to go take a look in the mirror
and
really reflect on this, because if they want to pretend that this is an NFL problem and not a Shedeur problem, I think that Dion, and I think that's how Dion and Shedeur certainly going to approach this, I think that they're doing themselves a disservice, because I know that Dion thinks that he's above it all, and Shedeur as his kid is above it all. But I don't think that is the reality here at all. I think the reality is you said, Ron, it's eat some humble pie. Think about what you've done. What is the message that you sent to these teams that allowed for this to happen?
Yep.
Jackson Dart, remember Dion saying, like, please, yesterday we had the quote, Jackson Dart, come on now. Well, guess what? That's not how the New York Giants felt. They traded up to get a quarterback last night, and they traded up not to get your son. They traded up to get the kid that you were throwing shade at, Dion.
Yeah. Ricky, one of the things that I think you always have to think about is it's not always about talent, and some would argue he's not that talented. Is he good? Sure. Is he going to make an NFL roster? He absolutely is. But you're walking into a locker room with grown-ass men who are professionals, and they don't want some cocky little kid with an attitude. I heard stories about Tom Brady that after he had become Tom Brady, right? The Tom Brady we know that everybody arguably the greatest quarterback ever. A free agent would walk into the locker room, and Tom would walk up and say, "Hi, how are you doing? I'm Tom." Like, that's who you need to be your quarterback. You don't need some entitled little punk walking in with a Flavor Flav size diamond necklace and all kinds
Apparently
of swag.
That's what everybody wears now, though. Every guy that came out,
not
every
your
other
quarterback.
Guy,
your quarterback has
you
to
need
act
a
different,
giant
Ricky.
Ronnie.
Your quarterback has to act different. Your
Wear a
quarterback
chain.
has to act different.
Well,
listen,
look, I don't disagree with you, man.
I was not
I
being
don't
very
disagree with you at
favorable.
all.
I was not being very favorable about Cam Ward, but I'll tell you what, dude. I saw some interviews with him after he was picked. What a nice young man. He's humble. He's looking forward to playing for the Titans. And he's going to go in there and he's going to work his ass off and try to win the respect of his team. That's what you need to do. You don't, I mean, that room that you showed the video of, the legendary, it's embarrassing,
Legendary
Ricky.
room.
Like, secondhand embarrassment. Embarrassing.
A little bit of a cringe element here. I'm not going to lie. Did you see last night Pat McAfee took a hit of a little something at the draft? I don't know if we have this or not. We can take a look. Man of the people is what Pat McAfee is. You know, I say this is a show by the people, but Pat McAfee is taking
Then he offers it to McCarthy.
He offers it to Mike McCarthy, who we all knew was going to be too much of a goody two-shoes to take that. I guess McCarthy not wanting any fentanyl in his life, Ron, presumably. I don't know. You got to be careful what people throw you and smoke it. But I do love Pat McAfee. He's getting almost as high as I was back in junior high, Ronnie, when I was sniffing those markers that we used to have back in those days. Take a look at this. I know that you're going to remember these sweet
big
bastards.
fat ones.
Look at those big fat ones. We would whiff these after gifted and talented class. I guess I'm being told by my girlfriend it's gifted and or talented. I, of course, was in that class, Ron, because I was leading the herd there in Horse Cave, Kentucky. But man, we would hit
kid at
these
Fat
up,
Camp.
and as I said, hey, look, I'm not saying that these were potent, but you take a couple of whips while playing comfortably numb, and you were basically Buzz Aldrin. And yes, leading the pack at Caverna High School in the mid '80s was, it was rookie ball, but still, somebody's got to have the highest batting average, Ron, is all I'm saying. I was thinking about Shedeur, though. You know how you teased me about being undateable in high school, speaking of my high school years?
Yeah.
Shedeur Sanders, undraftable. It's the same concept. You're undraftable. motherfucker. Look, if he ends up like sliding into the middle of the second round, my Schadenfreude is just going to really gain some momentum, by the way. I'll tell you that, because the longer this lasts, and I agree with you, I think there is a better than average chance that he's either going to be taken by the Browns or somebody is going to move up and get him. I would guess. But if it continues on a while, I might enjoy that.
What would probably be simultaneously the funniest thing and probably the best thing for Shedeur is if a team like Kansas City or Buffalo drafted him where he had no chance of playing for a number of years, get him humble, give him time to learn, and then see what can happen to him. But if he walks in, I'm just telling you,
demand a trade? He doesn't have any fucking leverage.
Exactly.
He's not even a first-round pick.
Yeah, it would be funny, and it would help him.
I welcome to the program now OutKick senior NFL writer, the great Armando Salguero. Armando, let's go ahead and just address the headline first and get it out of the way, and then we can get into some other matters. Shedeur Sanders slipping all the way out of the first round. We saw him sort of falling along the way. I don't know that anybody thought that he was going to slide all the way out of the first round. How surprised were you?
Well, I mean, it was always a possibility, right? And as you probably are aware, there's another OutKick show called Hot Mic, and we talked about the possibility of Shedeur Sanders sliding out of the first round in March. So there's that. I'm not saying that I called it, but I don't know, man. I came damn close. Anyway, so Shedeur Sanders will get picked today, I assume. And, let me take you to the Shedeur Sanders press conference. I'm the best quarterback in the draft. I should have been picked in the first round. I'm happy to be here. I'm going to make all the teams that passed on me regret it. And I'm great. And that's one of the reasons that Shedeur Sanders, I'm not saying the reason, but one of the reasons Shedeur Sanders slid is he's an acquired taste. He's off-putting to some coaches that don't like pudding. He is, kind of brash, somewhat entitled, arrogant, some would say. Others would say confident. But the point is the idea that the Pittsburgh Steelers, Ricky, who had the number 21 overall pick and only have 2 quarterbacks on their roster and want 4, and don't know whether Aaron Rodgers is coming or not, and don't have a second-round pick. So if they didn't get Shedeur Sanders there, they weren't going to get Shedeur Sanders. And after many meetings decided, yeah, not feeling it on Shedeur, and they picked a defensive tackle. That tells you something, because Mike Tomlin, he doesn't care about off-putting. He likes pudding. He doesn't care about players being arrogant. He's kind of, able to harness that and win, and yet they backed away. That says a lot to me.
Do you think he gets past the Cleveland Browns at the top of the second round? I think we're all now, okay, well, it's got to be any pick now, right? Could he fall into the middle of the second round?
So it seems to me that the Browns are what they did yesterday. They set themselves up for a quarterback get next year. And what I mean by that is next year, Deshaun Watson's not going to be on that team. I've written that at OutKick. Next year, now they have 2 first-round picks, including one from the Jacksonville Jaguars, who, if you believe them, is going to be a low pick because they're going to be good. And if you believe reality, is probably going to be a pretty high pick because it's the Jacksonville Jaguars. And so the Browns have set themselves up with 2 first-round picks next year, including one from a traditionally bad team, if they can go and, move around the first round and get that quarterback. Also, next year is a better quarterback class, supposedly. The experts and pundits have told everybody. So, using their pick high in the second round on a quarterback that they already passed on, I don't know. It could happen, but I'm not feeling it too much.
Well, let's talk about the trade that you referenced, Armando, because that certainly got the draft jump started last night when we found out that the Jaguars were in fact going to move up. They struck a deal with the Cleveland Browns that allowed them to take Travis Hunter. What are your thoughts on that deal and how it's going to play out for each team?
Well, let me back you up a minute. So what team plays in Jacksonville again?
The Jaguars.
Oh, look at you. You changed it because you just went Jaguars earlier. And I'm like, I've always wondered why people do that. So it's Jaguars, right?
Well, I'm from Kentucky, Armando, which explains every fucked up thing that I do. You can trace it all back to rural Kentucky. Anything that I
Cuba.
Say, but
what are you talking
it's
about?
Jaguars.
How do you speak English?
Well, Kentucky is more fucked up than Cuba, Armando. We're gonna have that throwdown right now. I will defend Kentucky's fucked upness over Cuba's 7 days a week, sir. But they're the Jaguars to me. I guess Jaguars, but Charles C.W. Cook, who is British and a Jaguars fan, calls them the Jaguars, which I've always found to be very refined and sophisticated.
That's option C, I guess. After Jaguars and Jaguars, you got whatever you just said. And
Duval, okay? Just Duval, Armando. What can I tell you?
There it is. So I don't even know what the question was. You freaked me out with the Jaguars.
I don't know, Travis. Is Travis Hunter going to be a fine Jaguar? That's the question, Armando. What do you think about that trade?
So he was the best player in the draft. Let's just say that. You can argue he's the best two players in the draft because his intention, and every team that I talked to said his ability is to play both ways. He's going to play wide receiver right off the bat, and he is going to help the Jaguars secondary pretty soon. I'm not saying first game of the season. I'm not saying full time, but eventually that is the goal. And by the way, again, Jacksonville has the worst pass defense in the NFL last year. So good on them to get themselves a defensive back who also helps very highly paid quarterback Trevor Lawrence. If you're looking at what they got out of it, they didn't miss. And that's great. Now they paid a pretty penny for it because it cost them 2 first-round picks. But that's the price of doing business in the top 5.
Armando, who do you like last night? I know one round does not make a draft, but looking at the data that we have so far, who most impressed you with the way that they handled the first round?
So I hate what the Falcons did. Let me just say that. And I know you asked me the opposite question, but let me just throw hate on the Falcons because it was stunning to me what they did. At 25, Ricky, the Giants went up from the second round and gave up, I think, like a third, a second, a sixth, or something like that. The Falcons at 26, they gave up their second, a seventh, and the first round pick next year. The Giants at 25 got their future quarterback. The Falcons at 26, costing them 2 first-round picks, got a pass rusher. Dude, you don't change the arc of your franchise by giving up 2 first-round picks for a pass rusher at number 26 overall, unless that dude's name is Lawrence Taylor. And it's not. It's James Pierce. So no hate on James Pierce, but there's a reason he wasn't drafted until the 26th pick. I mean, he's so great. Why wasn't he picked in the top 5? But the Falcons think he's so great that they gave up 2 first-round picks for him. So I hated that. I like what the Giants did, as I mentioned earlier. I like what there's the Chiefs and the Eagles. There's a reason that they're really good all the time. And the Eagles, they picked up Jihad Campbell with the 30th pick, 31st pick. And Jihad Campbell in the SEC was all SEC. They played good football in the SEC, Rick. 32nd pick, excuse me. 5 sacks, 11 tackles for loss, 1 interception, 1 forced fumble, 1 fumble recovery, and SEC all team. And by the way, when they played LSU and Will Campbell, who was the number 4 pick overall, Jihad Campbell dominated. He dominated them. So great job there. The Chiefs, they got to protect Patrick Mahomes. That's what they have to do. That is job one. And they went and drafted with the 32nd overall pick, Josh Simmons. Josh Simmons was having a great year last year for Ohio State. Tore his patellar tendon. He's on the recovery trail. He may not be their starting left tackle to start the season. If he weren't recovering, he would have been a top 5 pick all day long. But the Chiefs are going to get him, or did get him, at number 32. And he's going to be their starting left tackle for the next 10 years because he's that good. And when he recovers, he's going to be their starting left tackle. It is incumbent for us to understand winning teams do winning team things. Losing teams do losing team things.
God, that's true. That is absolutely true. Anybody who's been a sports fan for very long knows the wisdom of what you're saying there. Armando, as we've said many times, this draft, there are going to be good players that are going to get plucked out of the second round and beyond. Teams are going to find some gems. As you look at who's on the board here as we start the second round, where do you see the best value being among the names that remain?
Yeah, so Will Johnson, cornerback from Michigan, he's going to be picked early. Ohio State running back Travion Henderson, he's going to get picked here pretty soon. Jalen Milroe, because of his, potential, he's going to get picked very soon. Luther Burden, the wide receiver from Missouri, is going to get picked very soon. And eventually, Shedeur Sanders is going to get picked in the second round. And if he's not, we're going to have that mushroom cloud that we see over Boulder later this evening. That might be the Deion Sanders reaction to the NFL draft if his son doesn't get picked in the second round.
One last one for you, Armando. Kirk Cousins. I was seeing some rumors that, Kirk Cousins, he's going to get traded. That may be imminent. Are you hearing anything about the Falcons and what could happen with Kirk Cousins?
Yeah, so I had an NFL general manager tell me a couple of days ago that the media is stupid. And I agreed with him because we are. And he said that the Falcons have basically sold everybody a bill of goods about Well, first it was, we're not trading Kirk Cousins. He's our backup quarterback, even though he's making $27 million this year. Then they changed it to, well, we're going to do what's best for the Atlanta Falcons. And they met with Kirk Cousins and they talked to him. So the door is ajar. He says the door is wide open. The Falcons have been talking to teams about trading Kirk Cousins for weeks. And he said it's guaranteed that they will trade Kirk Cousins. They're not going to go into a season paying a backup quarterback $27.5 million. They're going to try to get rid of that contract, try to trade him, and maybe get something back, some cap relief back from other team that works for him. And so my guess is that based on that conversation, he will be traded.
All right. Well, Armando, all eyes will be on Shedeur Sanders until we hear his name called. Appreciate the wisdom as always, my brother. Thank you.
Thank you, Ricky. Go Jaguars.
Go Jaguars. God damn it. Honorary Kentuckian by way of Cuba, Armando Salguero.
Hey, OutKick fans on YouTube, if you enjoyed this episode, hit the subscribe button and make your way over to OutKick.com where you can watch the full episode.